We'll let a few we'll let a few more people join us, and then we'll get started. We'll be getting started in just a few minutes. People are still arriving. Well, we're about a quarter of the way there. We have 66 people signed up for today's uh, SUNY Pride Art Exhibition um, virtual celebration. I'm Jennifer Larson. I'm the Senior Fellow for Arts and Humanities Policy at the SUNY Rockefeller Institute. With me as my my co-host is Joe Hildreth. He is the longtime SUNY curator, professor emeritus in art from SUNY Potsdam. He's a marvelous artist. I would like to introduce to you Johanna Kendrick Holmes. She is the SUNY director for New York City special events and programs. It is Johanna's initiative uh, to start the SUNY Pride celebration and exhibition. It was started at SUNY Global 3 years ago, so we're in our third year. So welcome, Johanna. Maybe you'd like to make a few welcoming comments.
Thank you so much, Jennifer. Welcome, everyone. I just want to congratulate you all on a very vibrant and wonderful exhibition this year. Our SUNY Pride and Bloom theme has just been shown through your art, and we've had a lot of fun using that in our virtual events this year. So I've been really looking forward to getting to meet you all virtually and hear about your art and seeing it once again. And as Jennifer said, we have had, this is the third year for our SUNY Pride Art Gallery, and we appreciate you submitting your pieces. And we look forward to hopefully next year being back in person with the art pieces and everything being back here at the Global Center. So keep posted. We'll keep each other posted on that. And again, thanks for joining, and thanks for all the wonderful submissions.
Thank you, Johanna. I'm going to start with just a few details before we start in earnest. We have a lot of submissions this year, quite a variety, really a lot of them very personal or autobiographical or very powerful works. And I do thank you for sharing your artistic voices with us. Um, we will group them roughly in by category. So we'll have all the photographs together, and then we'll do a montage, and then we will one at a time pull up each artist's work. And so if you would please keep your mics muted, you may keep your video on, but when we pull up your work, if you would unmute, you can also unmute if you'd like to ask a question. You can also type questions in. If at any point you have difficulties, you may type into the chat box help, or you can email Anthony Rose, who is our tech today. It's anthony.rose@suny.edu. And maybe Anthony, you would put that in the chat so people can see your email there. Um, so we're going to start first with, before we go on, I should tell you that we have submissions by both students and faculty and alums. And at the very end, we will have a faculty and alum panel, and you'll have a chance to gather the wisdom they have gathered over their many years as artists. So I hope you can stay with us for that. So thank you, and let's get started. Let's start with the photographs. So what you're seeing is a montage of the photographs that were submitted. As you can see, there's a big variety. So Massimo, if you are here, would you unmute?
Hi.
Hello. So
Hi.
I'm going to start with a question for you. Each artist gets about 2 minutes worth of questions. So I was just really interested in the fact that this is quite an autobiographical set of photographs you've submitted, and I wanted to ask you if you had ever felt shy or encumbered in any way expressing yourself as an LGBTQ artist.
That's a good question. So these pictures were taken from my documentary class. So I was documenting a new relationship in my life that started in January. Um, and I think I've always felt a little bit shy sharing any of my art, especially if it's about my identity, because it's something that's like my life story and so close to me. But I do feel like it's always been worth it because I've always made other people feel comfortable to share their story by sharing mine. So I think that makes it feel worth it for me.
So I don't know if you can see the comments are coming in the chat box. Um, they're saying these works are so gorgeous, which they are. Um, but they're sweet and beautiful. They love the composition.
Yeah.
Um, and the springtime and the motion is just really extraordinary. Any of you who'd like to ask a question, feel free to unmute at any time.
I have a question about the fashion. Can you tell me a little bit about, did you style this shoot, or was it self-styled by your subject?
Yeah, so it was honestly just a picture I took on a date we took to the botanical gardens. So we usually, me and my boyfriend usually kind of like pick our outfits if we go on a date and try to like coordinate them. And then we just like go somewhere and I bring my camera. So it's kind of like candid, but we do try to look a little bit nice and like have our own personal style before we go out.
Thank you.
Well, shall we go to the next set of photos? The next one is Alexis Ochi. So would you tell us about the subject matter you have chosen to capture so beautifully here?
Sorry.
Hello, Alexis.
Hi. Yeah, so these were also a part of my documentary photography class, and this is part of a 3 years an ongoing project called Behind Closed Doors, and it's about student life outside of academics. And this event in particular is from an event that me and my friends always hosted every year called the Pride Party. There was always one in the fall semester and then over the summer for Pride Month. And these photographs are just like, they just mean a lot to me because they're so colorful, so saturated, and they really just exhibit the pride that a lot of people feel in their sexuality, and their gender. And you could just really like a lot of the people in these photographs are part of the LGBTQ community, and these photos just really mean a lot to me.
Yeah, uh, Denise Green typed in the chat box that she loves how everyone looks so cheerful. They're all smiling, which is true. It's really a perfect depiction of joy and exuberance. I really appreciate that in this.
Yeah,
I
thank you
think
so
the
much.
I think the vibrant colors also contribute to the mood of joy and exuberance that you are hoping to communicate, and I think they're quite effective in doing that.
Thank you. Thank you.
So Nirdish that says that she really likes how you've used lighting in these shots and how they highlight certain things, that it really brings out the party vibe.
Yeah, it's funny because a lot of the process for my photography, it's mostly like 70% to 80% editing. Because you could get a good composition in photos, in person. But as far as like the colors and the saturation go, and just like kind of like that weird like fisheye distortion effect, a lot of that was all editing, and it was just such a pleasure editing all of these and just I don't know, just seeing the joy in all my friends' faces.
Well, they're gorgeous. Thank you for submitting these.
Thank you.
The next one is Kevin Tamora. There we go. Kevin, are you here?
Yes, hello.
Hello.
How are
Yeah.
you?
Good. Feel free to turn your video on.
Okay, give me 1 second. I
There you
apologize
are.
for my background.
There you
Hello.
are.
Hello, how is everyone? Hi.
So, so the thing that strikes me about your photographs, and maybe we can pull up the next one also. The transcending into Mother Nature's arms. This one, yeah. Your photographs are infused with humor, which is just totally delightful. Um, I wanted to ask you how you use humor in conveying your ideas.
I would say I use humor because I never really take everything very too seriously. I like to have fun and be happy with my gender identity as a trans person. And I just feel like every single time that I just smile and just laugh at life, it just makes everything so much better.
We have some comments in the chat box here. Um, to be a complete Gen Z, I like how fruity they are. I love the story your photographs tell.
Thank you.
Uh, yeah, I do too. I mean, this one looks like it could come out of a fairy tale book.
I really love tying nature into my photography a lot because I like to touch upon how being queer identifying is like natural and it's a part of nature. So that's why I incorporate so much nature into my photography.
Hmm. I think
I
that's
think uh, I think you also do a nice job of communicating trans in terms of the imagery in your photographs, and I think in terms of the way that that communicates your concern for being able to communicate that whole notion positively.
Thank you.
yeah, I would echo that. There are comments in the chat box about the colors you use and how they really pop. Um, More than one person has remarked on your colors. Beautiful colors. Love the composition, the color and lighting. It's so beautiful. And it exudes pride in bloom.
Oh, thank you, everyone. Yeah, I really tend to edit my photos a lot with warm tones and less highlight, a lot of saturation, I would say, and just overall warmth to present like how warm being queer makes me feel personally.
Well, I love these. So thank you for submitting them.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. Okay, we're going to go on to the next category, which is Photoshop, digital, and graphic art. And we'll pull up the montage. You can see quite a variety. Here is our first one. This one is Alexa Gonzalez, her gender non-conforming cards. Alexa, are you here? I'm not sure Alexa is with us. What I did have a thought about this work, and something that you all may weigh in on sometime during today's meeting. I was interested in the applied art aspect of the work and about its potential to shape society through products, through commercial products, and I thought this was interesting for that reason. So let's go on to the next one, which is Alexis Cleveland, and her work is entitled Love. Alexis, are you here? Okay. Alexis is not here. We'll go on to the next one, which is Lantern Festival. This is by Karen Nabrizny, and I know Karen is here. So if you'll turn.
Hello.
Hello, Karen.
Hello.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you guys.
This is such a perfectly captured romantic moment. And what strikes me is that it's personal, but it's universal. And I thought maybe I would ask you if you've always felt so free to express yourself this way.
Actually, I have not. In high school, I went to a Catholic school, so I never really was able to express myself, like, being queer. It was so hard to, talk to friends about it because they were always Catholic and followed the Catholicism faith. But as soon as I went to Oswego, I opened up into this whole different person. I was so much more comfortable. And then I met my girlfriend, and then she really opened my eyes to letting myself be myself. And I really cannot thank her enough because she really showed me how it is to be more accepting of myself.
Which is really...
I noticed in the imagery that there appears to be different stages or phases that are in the graphic behind the two figures. And I wondered if that was symbolic for anything in particular in terms of growing stages of love or growing stages of awareness, or is that just a simple design and not intended to be symbolic of that type of notion?
So this picture is referenced from our first official date to the Lantern Festival in New York City. And when I looked back at the photo, I noticed how every row was was blue and red and blue and red. And I think now that I look upon it, blue was kind of a time where I was, happy with myself. And then red was when I got to high school, wasn't very accepting of myself because, being in a Catholic school. And I think going back to that blue, I feel so much more comfortable now that I'm out of high school, in college, with more accepting people.
Well, I love this work, and there are many comments in the chat box about it. It's the tunnel, going through this tunnel into another world is also something I think is really effective. It's really beautiful.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you, Karen. So then the next work is by Malia Minkler, and it's entitled Reflection. Malia, are you here? So maybe Malia's not here. The next one is by Gabby Amatouli, and I think Gabby is here for sure. Oh, maybe not. This work is entitled Portrait of Marsha P. Johnson. And it could be the theme photo for Pride and Bloom. I think it's marvelous, really marvelous.
I think, if I recall Gabby's statement, that this is a portrait of one of the protesters in Stonewall protests in 1969, which tends to give you a little more context for the image.
Right. Thank you, Joe. That's true. This is an example of art as a history lesson, as well as art as art. It's really beautiful. The next piece is entitled Catch Me. It's by Arnold Barretto. Oh, right. So now we're in printing, and this is our montage. Um, these are three really beautiful works. We'll go on to the first one of these, which you see on the left, entitled "Catch Me" by Arnold Barretto. Arnold, are you here? Okay, probably not, because Arnold lives a long way away. But I find this to be a really powerful statement, a personal and powerful statement. It's a beautiful print.
I find the way that the registration and a little bit of off registration adds a certain kind of vibrancy to the image, a certain kind of energy, I think, and I'm certain that it's intentional.
Oh, I think so. It's a 5-block print, and I'm sure it's intentional. There's a little bit of anxiety there, but also maybe more than a little anxiety in this. So the next contributor is Jack D'Ambrosio, and it's entitled "Freedom to Bloom." Jack, are you here?
Hi.
Oh, hello. Nice
Hello.
to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
I was hoping you would talk a little about your artistic influences.
My artistic influences? I don't know. Really anyone who does self-portraits. I'm huge into self-portraits and how they like allow artists to really like familiarize themselves with like their identity and like what they've been through and like use that to inspire others. So whenever I see self-portraits, whether it's like Frida Kahlo or like Picasso or anything, I really enjoy those works.
So somebody in the chat box wrote in, um, where is it here? Oh, printmaking is such a crazy process. These are amazing in the details. And I agree. Totally agree.
I was wondering if you were hoping to communicate anything in particular by the tattoo and the background, the similarity between the two.
Yeah, so I did a print. This is a lithograph, and 2 years ago I did an intaglio print that was me like this with flowers, and I had done it then because I was like figuring out my like gender identity and like trying to be comfortable with myself and whatnot. And then I decided to redo it in this way. So my tattoos have grown. So that first print that I did only had the rose on my bicep, and then they grew. So I wanted to like have that like juxtaposition between like the real flowers again, like to just like show that like I'm like blossoming kind of into like the truest version of myself and like happy with who I am. Like that's why like I feel like there's a very content look on my face and whatnot. Yeah, that's yeah.
Thank
So
you.
it's marvelous. It really is. One of the chat box comments says, "I love the details and how the eye flows through the piece."
Thank you so much.
Well, I really thank you for submitting this one, Jack.
Thank you.
The next piece is by Melissa Mazza. It's called "Acknowledged Space." There it is. Melissa, are you with us today? I don't think Melissa is with us. This is a gorgeous work.
I find it particularly striking because of the strong values that she has in the piece, that the contrast that it tends to just draw you in and keep you there.
Mm-hmm. And that in the about the art statement, Melissa talks about how the lotus flower grows in muddy water, and then it reaches the surface and it just blossoms. Um, so it is a metaphor for self-discovery. Yeah, people are saying jaw dropping.
Yes.
Yeah,
Very
and,
well done.
and love that the roots look like a hand for sure, and mesmerizing. The next group are paintings. We'll pull up the paintings. We'll see this is quite a diverse bunch of paintings. And we're going to start with Karis Jones, the two paintings on the left. Karis, are you with us today? maybe we don't have Karis with us. This first one is called Be Helped. And the next one is entitled Don't Do This in Front of the Kids, which is sort of a modified, it's not a position anyone could really get into. In the statement, Karis talks about how she uses the skin as a canvas. And I've seen some of her other works as well. This intense purple and red and the mottled sort of shape is really fascinating to me. We have some comments in here. The colors, shadows, and accuracy of the anatomy is beautiful. Wow, this is incredible. I love the use of colors in both pieces. Yeah, it's really, really fascinating what Karis does. I wish she were here to comment on this, but maybe she'll come later and we can catch her then. The next work is by Gray Hinkle. It's called Combined Type and Trans Crow. So there are 3 works. We're going to start with Trans Crow. Gray, I think you're here. Are you with us?
Yeah, I am.
Hello. Nice to meet you. Would you tell us about the crow, the significance of the crow? I love crows personally.
So the significance of the crow is I had to do, like, I think it was last semester, I had to do like a thing that was based on like a self-portrait based on like what kind of animal I would be based on the symbolism. And when I like was doing the research on it, because I like was already really interested in crows, I figured I'd look them up. It was saying like they have like creativity and like intelligence as well, and they also kind of have like traits that like remind me of like traits I experienced having ADHD. So it all kind of really like fell in together like with that, and then I of course added the trans flag in the background to really tie it together when I made this painting this past like year.
Well, crows have that social ability too, right? You know, they live in complex social arrangements, which makes them totally appropriate as a subject matter for COVID. So if you would pull up the next one. There we go. There's so much in here, as well as the one that follows. Would you talk about this this work which you call Combined Type?
So these 2 pieces were from a series I think there was 3 of them total, but it was based on basically the combination of like typography and painting as well as like identity. And so that's kind of like the layering of everything, because like the layering is also supposed to kind of represent another like way of identity, because there's all these different layers and there's also all these like hidden things about it, which I really liked. And I've really been exploring like typography and everything with these pieces, and that's all it is. They're basically typographic self-portraits in a way.
They have a real visual beauty in terms of the texture, the color, the value, and actually the sense of space that you've created with the color and the way that the textures kind of fade into a background.
Oh, it's true. Do we have a slide of the Combined Type 2, the one that comes after it? There we go. Here's the other. Yeah, really beautiful. Let's see if we have any more comments. Yeah, one of the things that is interesting about both of these works is you're so clear in your point of view. The viewer gets it right away. So thank you for submitting those. I really appreciate them, Gray. Our next piece is by Dmitry Skidlovsky. And I hope I said your name right, Dmitry. Mona Corona. Dmitry, are you here? Okay, Yeah, really beautiful. This is really
One of
beautiful.
the things that draws me to this particular piece is the fact that there seems to be a bit of a shift in scale from the eyes to the rest of the face and the part of the figure that's being shown, and also the beautiful painting of it as well.
Hmm. That we recognize it as a take on the Mona Lisa, but it's not the Mona Lisa. It's really fascinating. Yeah. So our next piece is a whole other category, decorative arts and fashion design. There we go. There's our montage. The first work is by Jake Wilworth, and it's entitled A Jacket. And I know Jake is here.
Hello.
Jake, hello.
Hello.
Would you like to turn on your video? You don't have to.
Yeah. Is it on now?
It's not on.
Not yet.
It says it's on for me.
It's on for you, huh? Well, we'll start with a question, and maybe you'll figure it out as you're answering the question. So I wondered about your process. If you often work in textiles, if that's your major art medium, um, if you would call yourself a fashion designer, for instance.
It's like very I I'm I've usually done painting, like that's how I started, and then I went to school for graphic design, which I just graduated from, and I started. I used to be into like fashion and stuff like that, very kind of like not to make a pun, but like closeted, I guess. But I just never really like did anything with that. I started, and then once the pandemic hit, I started sewing more and stuff like that, and I started making more things, and I'm still kind of working on that now. And I've decided to get into design with fashion more. And then this was actually for a class that I had to do. I did a special projects class, and I made 2 jackets for that class. And yeah, this is one of them.
So do you wear your own designs?
Yeah, a lot of the ones that I make, the 2 ones that I made for my class, I don't really wear them because it would be kind of uncomfortable to wear them. But yeah, a lot of this things that I just tailored a jacket that I bought from a thrift store, and I've worn that pretty often. So yeah.
May I ask a question? I really love the red, and since I don't think there's a close-up, can you tell us a little bit more about what's going on with the safety pins and the red? Is it like embroidered on either side, or can you tell us a little bit about that detailing?
The safety pins and I used red thread just
Red
to
thread.
yeah, I ended the sewing kit that I got ran out of red thread, so I had to go like quickly to Walmart to buy like 2 spools of red thread that were the same color. And to do it, I just like I think I did it like 3 times. I like triple threaded it through the needle, and then I just and there's still remnants of red thread throughout my room now. So yeah, and then I got a bunch of big safety pins, and I just kind of like intermittently, like some were pointing up or like this way if they're going horizontal, and then some were pointing the other way, and it just kind of like is a pattern of them like going like that. And I used a lot of those too.
I really love the way that you've matched the thread with the shoelaces. I think it really pulls together the whole look. And
Yeah, those shoes I wear a lot of. Like I have a red belt that I wear that I will wear with those shoes. Red is like my favorite accent color to use, especially with black.
That's really great. Really great.
Have a question.
Okay.
I was wondering if you had any like creative thought process with the way you kind of lit the photo shoot in general, because I feel like these like photographs by themselves can even be considered art. So I was just wondering if you had like a thought process for it.
Yeah, because I worked with one of my professors who took the pictures, and they kind of did the lighting, but I had input on it. But I didn't know how these turned out until they showed me them, and they were really happy about the first one. When I saw it, they showed me it, and I really liked that there were two shadows of me to like kind of go along with this idea of the two separate jackets put together. And then the like last photo that's there's a red line that like goes up, I think, my chin, and then it's like a continuation of that red line. So I'm really happy that they included the red lighting as well as lighting that made it like the shadows really dynamic, because that's also a part of the piece itself.
Mhm.
They're awesome.
Incredible. Thank you. Thank you, Jacob. So the next one is entitled Love is Quiet Labor. It's by Denise Green, who is here.
Hi, everybody. We're having a crazy rainstorm, hailstorm, lightning storm in Ithaca. So if I'm choppy or I disappear, I'll try to reconnect with my phone signal. But we're having Ithaca weather. So I'm really excited to share this piece. This is actually a collection of two puffer vests. One is mine, and this one is my girlfriend's, that I made for both of us after what had been a very, very intense year. Where, you know, intimacy, whether you wanted it or not, was going to happen with the one or whomever was in your close-knit circle. And so for me, it was my girlfriend and I for a year together. And so this is the foods that we ate. We ate every night together. We cooked dinner together. I saved all of the food waste, and I used that to do this eco-printing technique on nylon. We also taught ourselves to kayak and cross-country ski, and we explored every hiking trail that existed in Ithaca and beyond, because we, you know, it was a really beautiful year in reconnecting with nature and the cycle, you know, the everyday cycle of life, which as a faculty member at Cornell, I couldn't remember the last time I ate dinner at home and cooked it myself, because there's always so much going on at school, especially in the evenings with talks and dinners and et cetera, and receptions. And so we really had this intimate domestic experience. And I'm in the College of Human Ecology, which was formerly the College of Home Economics. And I really do feel so passionate about how our college began by two queer women, Flora Rose and Martha Van Rensselaer, known collectively as the Miss Van Roses, who cohabitated together, and they built a college that celebrated a lot of different kinds of lifestyles. They were actually reprimanded in the 1920s before they became their own college in 1925. Albert Mann, who was the Dean of Agriculture, reprimanded them for teaching a book called Companionate Marriage, where they taught the women students in home economics that you could cohabitate with your friends, other women, you could get married and not have children, you could get married and have children, that there were lots of different ways to live your life and to create a domestic space for yourselves. And so I'm really proud to be part of our college and our college's legacy. And so just all of these things were kind of going on in my head when I created this. And the interior lining that says quiet labor, that actually came from an exhibition that my students and I did in the Cornell Natural Dye Studio years ago. We did an exhibit called Quiet Labor that was about the quiet labor of plants and natural dyers. To, you know, it's a lot of labor. You have to mordant your textiles, the plants have to grow. There's a lot of work that you don't see to create these beautiful colors. And so we had screen printed all of these banners, and my student Laura Robert did a paper cut that we actually used for the photo emulsion for the screen. And so I just had all these banners lying around my office. Some of the students wanted them, and I really believe in sustainability, food waste dyes and natural dyes. And so I put that banner to work, and I began to think about the quiet labor of relationships. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. And so I think it's important to celebrate that work because it's labor. And so that's the piece.
And as your the photograph shows, that quiet labor, unless is unseen,
It's
unless some special attempt is made to show it.
Yeah, and unless you take the garment off, you might see it, but otherwise it's that hidden quiet labor on the interior. And the exterior always looks really nice and how it looks on your Instagram feed or whatever. But the what's happening, quietly, and sometimes not so quietly, on the inside is really important too. And so yeah, so this was a chronicle of our year. I actually used one of our pillows to create the feather down for the interior. So it's literally wrapped in the textiles and the foods and the kinds of garments we wore when we went out into the woods and out to ski and all of those activities that we did together in an effort to really deeply connect with one another in this time when we couldn't connect with other people in the ways that we typically had in our life.
Well, it's really beautiful, and the phrase quiet labor in this context resonates really strongly with me.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Denise. Really appreciate this. Our next um, our next piece of is by John Kirker, and it is a wooden lantern stand. John, are you here? Possibly. Maybe not. So I want to say a couple of things about this wooden lantern stand that I gleaned from the statement that he wrote about this. Um, he employed a motion detection light so that you have to move in order for it to turn on. And this is a statement about what's required to change the world. That it requires motion, it requires action and activity, and I thought that was really interesting. So our next group of submissions are all 3 films, and they have been compiled back to back. So I'll give a little intro to all the films before they start, and then we'll talk to each one of the artists individually. So the first one is by Nerdistha Sapkota. I hope I said the name right. And it's entitled Nerdistha is a Boy. And this one is based on a Nepalese artistic tradition. It's a narrated story, and it's really beautiful. The second one is an art film, an installation work, and it's entitled Rust Belt Diary at Spring Chicken, and it's by Dave Mosier. And it's a fascinating locale, so I'm hoping to hear about that. The final one is an excerpt from a musical by Katya Stanislavskaya, and it's entitled Jessa's Proposal. So we'll start, and it'll go one to the next through the videos.
You're not ready. We're due in court in 30 minutes. You go. We should walk in together, Look like a united front. I'm not coming. I'll go start the shower and get your outfit ready. We'll get a thermos for the coffee and... Yes. You're not hearing me.
When you asked me to move, you provided a list of pluses, 'Cause you knew I felt chained and cuffed in overstuffed public transit buses. And you knew that this couch potato hated crowds and rallies. So you promised a life of ease with tranquil trees and vast green valleys. But by far the biggest plus was that it meant more time for us. So I said yes, ecstatically yes to you that day.
And I delivered all I promised.
When you gave me the ring, did you notice my apprehension while you had all your dreams defined? It slipped your mind that I hate attention. You forgot how a brightly flashing dance floor sends me running. When my flannels and boots are shed, I'm filled with dread, more stunned than stunning. There was so much to discuss, but I wanted what's best for us. So I said yes, reluctantly yes to you that day.
Reluctantly?
See, I try to walk the line between my shyness and your flair. But you pull me to your side and I lose ground. Try to handle things my own way so we both could get what's fair. But it blew up in my face, the deafening sound. You decided to sue. Did you ever ask my permission? You are out on a righteous spree and using me as your ammunition. I'm a person, I'm not a crusade. I don't wanna be in your parade. All the protests and media fuss was for you, it was never for us. Did I say yes? I never said yes to you that day. Do whatever you think is right. Fight injustice with all your might. But I'm stepping out of the light as of today.
A Self-Dom Catastrophe, Chapter 1. Nerdishtai is a boy, Nerdishtai is a boy, Nerdishtai is a boy. My classmates chanted as my sobbing slowed and I rubbed my face of tears. I don't remember why I was crying or what had upset me, but I was standing in the tiny courtyard that separated the kindergartners from the older kids. The red brick walls in the classrooms, with cartoons painted at the entrances, were just big enough for all of us to stand in straight lines. My classmates and I were supposed to form a straight line to go somewhere, but all of us had to take a break so they could get me to stop crying. I joined the boys' line, and we quickly went about our day. The teachers were probably annoyed at having to stop and chant for me, and their lipsticked lips moved too quickly for me to lip read as I looked at my black leather shoes and marched along. Our school uniform, a sky blue button-down shirt, gray bottoms, skirts or tunics for the girls, and pants for the boys, and a gray knitted sweater that had our school logo on it in a sunny yellow color, were what we were supposed to wear. I was the only girl in my grade to wear pants and have short hair in a boy's cut. I only remember all of this happening once, but it must have happened multiple times because the headmistress, Mrs. Punta, or "Oh, Mrs. Pants," as we called her, decided that it was time to call my parents to deal with the issue. My parents came in, talked to her, and then took me home. The following week, I started going to school in a tunic with the handkerchief folded into a square and safety pinned to my chest. My short hair was tied at the top, and I looked like a perpetually gushing water fountain. Years later, I would find out that Mrs. Pants had told my parents things that admittedly would have shocked me too if I was a parent, but for different reasons perhaps. You have to send Nirdishta to school in a skirt. She's acting too much like a boy, and if this goes on, she might start getting attracted to girls. She can't wear pants anymore, and you have to tell her that she needs to pee sitting down.
Thank you. And we're going to start with Nirdishta. If you are here, I think you are.
Hello.
Hello. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. Thank you for having me. So my piece is, so I initially started writing a nonfiction essay chapbook earlier last semester, where I was kind of writing about just, so I am an international student who moved to the US from Nepal. And so I kind of had a giant identity crisis after moving here, because this was the first time I was experiencing racism and just having to tick like multiple boxes about my identity. And so it just created like a huge existential crisis for me. And so this chapbook kind of was me writing out about the different identities that I was dealing with. And the first chapter, which you guys just watched and heard, Nirdishta as a Boy, was one of the more, I guess, more formative informations about myself that I learned. And so the art style is an art style that is like mostly used by women in different parts of South Asia, which they used to essentially use to decorate their houses or pots and pans in their house, but is now like a way that they make money. And it was an art style that I grew up with a lot. And so I kind of wanted to utilize that. And and I do have 2 other animations kind of to supplement this animation. And so if you look through them, you will see that there is like more growth in detail, because I kind of wanted to convey this, and like this first story at least, to kind of be more still and to kind of just show me as not a very whole person, because I was still being told what I was. And so I seem like a very mindless, immovable being. And there are things around me that are moving, that are kind of shaping me, but I am not shaping myself, I suppose. And so that's kind of what I was trying to convey. So yeah, that was kind of the whole story behind that.
Well, it's a beautifully written story. Beautifully.
Thank you.
Yeah, really lovely.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I think your statement or explanation really tends to complement and give a lot of insight into the animation. It's very, very nice.
Thank you. I'm sorry, this is just a little bit awkward because I don't know what to say, so.
So I had a question for you about your artistic path. Do you see yourself as an illustrator, or is this just one part of what you do that is more broad?
So I changed my major 5 times after I came to school here. And so I've kind of been all over the place, but so I have a journalism, well, I graduated with a journalism major and an interaction design, journalism and interaction design double major, and a minor in creative writing. And so this particular project for me was very much about me marrying my 2 interests of writing and art together. And so I've only recently started doing animations, which I think was slightly apparent in my animation work, because it's not like the greatest thing, but you know, it was something I was learning, and I think I'm very proud of what I did. And so this was just kind of me marrying them together. But I am kind of hoping to go into web design and UX design in the future, but I do still want to go ahead and create more artwork and writing about my experiences, because after moving here, I've realized that there's not a lot of people who look like me and have had experiences like me, and I can't relate to a lot of people, because like I can't relate to South Asians who grew up here, because you know they have been living with racism their whole life, but like I didn't until very recently, so the experience is different. And so I kind of want to I want to make sure that I am still a person who is able to share these stories with people so they can relate to them, whether it be through illustration, animation, or just through writing. So I do want to like go through with the illustrations more and then turn them into animations, because the chapbook itself does have like an illustration for each of the artwork. And then I took those illustrations and then animated them. So it's definitely like a way that I married a lot of my different interests together.
Well, I love the style of illustration. I love the simplicity of the lines. Um, I think it's just really lovely.
Thank you. And I will put in, so the other two videos are on my YouTube channel. So I kind of just put the link there. So if you would like to kind of see what two of the other stories out of the 5 are, they're on there. So yeah, I hope you guys can give me feedback about it if you want to.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for your submission. I think it's just gorgeous.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So the next one is the art film installation entitled Rust Belt Diary. Is Dave Mosher here? Maybe Dave is not. Are you here? No. I will say one thing about this particular installation. It was filmed in a location that has historically been a haven for gay men. And so this was how it related to the theme of LGBTQ. And I thought that was fascinating that he gave us a tour through this part of this neighborhood. So the final film is by Katya Stanislavskaya. It's Jessa's Proposal, and I think Katya's here. Katya? Oh, maybe she's not here. Well, I will say that the question came up with about the students who are singing. That they're actually not SUNY students, but she is a SUNY composition and music professor. And she had a work last year as well. And I think that as a composer, she has a lot of power to sort of influence the way people think in her choice of material and in her treatment of it. And I thought it was just really wonderful. So we have, how many faculty do we have here? Or if you're an alum, turn on your video if you're either faculty or alum. I see one faculty. You may be alone. No, Jacob is also an alum, right? Anyone else? Anyone who's recently graduated? I have one question that we'll start with, and then it's sort of open season, and we have plenty of time if you want to have a broader discussion. But for the two of you, both Jacob and Denise, I'm wondering if you would tell us what you would most want to share with the younger artists that are here today. I see Denise thinking out loud. Do you want to start? Lead us off?
Well, I'm trying to form my advice, which I guess, as it was clear from my piece, I really have taken in my personal experience, like down to the everyday, the sort of quotidian aspects of life. And in fact, maybe nothing is quotidian. Our lives are really dynamic and exciting, even in these times when we think they are sort of dampened in a larger social sense. And so my piece was really exploring the ways in which a time that was so tragic and heartbreaking in a lot of ways, and shifted our social relation with one another to these screens that we're still on, and how art practice could be a lifeline really for me. I felt so much joy in making in this time of screens, when I could be away from the glowing rectangle and immersed in the detritus of my everyday life. And I think being immersed in our own detritus is also really powerful, because it's what it is the leftovers of our existence in the world. And I work in fashion, and so I teach fashion design at Cornell, and I'm desperately hoping to inspire my students to really think critically about the fashion system and to intervene in a way that will transform it, because right now we are destroying the earth. It's the second largest polluter of waterways in the world. We are destroying human health and well-being, exploiting labor. You know, there's just so many problems. Producing more than we need, producing lots of waste. And so for me, I guess the advice or that I would give would be to, you know, to look inward and to, you know, think critically and celebrate the kinds of and critique as well the way we exist in the world in any moment in time. And so in that moment of time during the pandemic and ongoing, I mean, it's not over, obviously. And I think as part of a larger queer community, there are, you know, the HIV/AIDS epidemic. I mean, this is not anything new. And so it kind of, this last year has brought up a lot, I think, for a lot of us in this community, and has shown us that there's a lot of work to be done. And so how can we use our everyday to really inspire and draw attention to what to do to make the world a better place, I guess.
Jacob, do you have some thoughts in this regard?
Yeah. So I was gonna say, like, I've been very lucky to I have a family that's very accepting of and like very supportive. And I like recognize that and how privileged I am because of that. But I would say like any advice that I would give is just kind of like anything you want to do, any way that you want to express yourself, any way that you want to be, just do it. Like at least through this like pandemic, I've come more like comfortable with myself, and I've been able to express myself a lot, and I've like especially with like counseling and stuff like that, that's helped a lot and stuff like that, and I'm just coming more comfortable with like my gender identity and things like that. And especially with why I was happy that my one piece that I got to show off was fashion was because like I I love that clothing and fashion can express something about someone, about who someone is and what they want to tell without them having to say anything. And I work in a clothing store, and it's in a small town, but I still dress like I want to dress. I still, even how, I mean, I don't dress too outrageously, but even with how like the clientele of that store, I still dress pretty like out out there, I guess. But I love doing that, and um, I don't know. Yeah, so I guess just be yourself, and individualism is always important, especially when it comes to art and uh, identity. That's also very important.
I want to echo that as well, because one of the things I've been thinking about a lot lately is art as an act of care, and how can the work that we make be an act of care in the world. And I think fashion, obviously Jacob and I are both working in fashion, and you know, we are wrapped in these garments every day, and we have, you know, we exist in these structure and agency, right? We have some agency, but we also are in certain structures where regulations exist around what we can wear. And so it's that push pull between structure and agency, and the agency is there, and we can, you know, we have this wonderful privilege every day to adorn ourselves and be in the world. And how we can create, for me, to create clothing that doesn't harm and instead is about making people feel good, to be, again, design and art as an act of care.
So you, Denise, you actually, both of you alluded to art as self-care as well, you know. Um, so that was, if I had had time for a second question, and I do, the question would have been, living as an artist. You know, some people are graduate in the arts and become a civil engineer or something, but they still are artists. What is it to live as an artist, and what would you say to those who are um, artistically inclined and talented, but perhaps um, pursuing some other aims, but still living as artists? What is art to you personally?
I was gonna say, because especially now, like, because I just posted this thing on my art Instagram for my dad for Father's Day. I took a denim jacket and I painted on it for him, and he was really happy with it. And so honestly, like the because that was one thing that I was really like, especially towards the end of college and being an art major. Like, I was like, okay, am I going to be able to find a career doing this and being successful? Uh, and I really just had to come to terms with being able to like share what I make, because it's not necessarily like I was like ashamed of anything I made. I just have never really been like, I've mostly been like, oh, no one's really gonna care about this. No one, like, they're just kind of gonna look at it and go, oh, okay, and then like move on to the next one. But it's really just about being being proud of what you create, holding on to that, and knowing, yeah, I did make that, and I'm very happy with it, and I'm happy to share it with everyone, I guess is what I'd say.
Mm-hmm.
I actually have, I just watched this documentary about this photographer. I don't know if I'm going to pronounce his name right, but it's like Platon, I think. And in the documentary, he was saying this quote, and that really spoke to me. And it's like, he said, if it means something to me, then there's a chance it might mean something to someone else. And I think that quote just like really kind of speaks to what you're saying, that, there might be someone out there that your art speaks to, and, you just kind of shoot your shot with it.
Mm-hmm.
And again, kind of coming back to the everyday, I think art that inspires people to think about how they can practice art every day. And so whether you're a quote unquote artist or not, art major or engineer, minoring in art, or maybe, I have students that a minor in fashion because their parents won't let them major in it, and so how to create an opportunity or create space and make space in your life for art practice, just like you exercise every day and you eat every day and you sleep every day. Actually making time, like, art is a necessity. As someone who enjoys practicing art, it has to be part of my everyday life, and making time for it is an act of self-care because it brings joy, and it's a way to reflect upon your environment, your surroundings, the people that you love, the things that inspire you, the things that hurt you, and the pain that you might feel. Art is about exploring all of these different emotions. And so it's important, I would argue, just as important as sleeping, eating, studying, and doing all of these, exercising and doing all of the other things that quote unquote make us a well-rounded person. Practicing art is part of who we are. And so whether you're good at drawing or not, I've always struggled with drawing, for example. And so I work in other media formats and I make art in different ways. And I hope, a lot of what we do at Cornell, and part of why being part of SUNY is so important to us at Cornell, being in contract college for SUNY, is that we, as a land grant, we have a mission of education and outreach. And so what can we do as faculty, as students, whether it's 4-H programs or, middle school students coming in, or the public visiting our exhibitions, or doing workshops? How can we bring the joy of art making to everyone? Because not everyone's had the opportunity to learn natural dyes, for example. Like, how many people know that you can save all your onion skins instead of throwing them into the garbage or the compost, and actually tuck them away and then use them to create beautiful fabrics? Like we have these materials. And so how can I, as an educator, as part of the State University of New York, right? Like it's part of my job to bring this to our community and to inspire art, because that's what's going to improve human health and well-being. And that's why we're here. I would hope, is about, again, like, I don't want to sound too sort of like idealistic, but like, we're here to make the world a better place. So art is a really important way to do that.
Mm-hmm. I feel, Jill, like you probably have a wealth of things to add to the discussion.
Well, I know I was thinking about this, that from when we had our initial Pride exhibition, and we got to experience that in the physical space, and I was very happy with that. But I've also been very happy with the virtual aspect that's occurred the past 2 years. And in particular, the opportunity to have the artists to be able to talk about their work and to be able to ask them questions and to be able to give them a compliment when their image of their work is being shown. And so I just thought that COVID's probably had some good things about it. And one of the good things is the virtual expansion of our Pride exhibition and the opportunity to bring the artists in and to speak with them the way we have. And so I was just feeling very good about that. And I would like to share that with everyone.
Yeah, it's true. If for instance we choose Albany as our site, there are many schools that are quite a ways from Albany. Not everybody could come, and it's really a great thing to be able to bring everyone together like this, to think about what you do and what it means and why it's important. Yeah.
I just think that it's more than just another dimension. It's just expands the whole impression and experience of the art to be this engaged with the artist, and it's just made it have greater depth and more meaningful to me.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think we have drawn to a close, and I want to really thank you all for submitting your works to the virtual exhibition. And I want to thank you for your thoughts and sharing, and it's just been a really lovely afternoon.
Thank you so much.
And thank you, Johanna.
Loved
Yeah,
it.
thank you all for organizing. I know it's a lot of work to build out the website and compile all of the artist statements and then fix all of our revisions. So I really appreciate all of your effort to make it possible.
Well, it's our pleasure.
Happy Pride, everyone.
Happy Pride. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, good night.
Good night.